So despite revealing fantastic listening figures on Spotify in 2020 on Instagram, singer and dancer Teyana Taylor has announced her retirement from music. She says, and I quote, "I constantly feel alone. I constantly feel underappreciated. I constantly feel failed." And she was talking about the lack of support that she's been getting from Def Jam Records, or so she says, allegedly. Let me just put that out there. But one thing I would say about Teyana Taylor is that I'm so excited because now she has announced that she is the new creative director at Pretty Little Thing. So I wanted to ask you ladies, how do you define success in your work, and how do you know when it's time for you to move on from a job or a career path?
I feel like, I'll take the first part of your question first. I feel like the first bit is a bit tricky because I feel like success is something so subjective, but that's why obviously you've asked how do I define it, and I guess my answer in short is I don't really define it. And I know that sounds crazy, but just the way that my mind kind of works and ticks over things, it's like if I have a job, I'm doing the job, whether I'm doing it well and it's yielding certain results and things like that. I guess I'm not really I guess I don't really pay attention to that kind of bit. I guess I just don't measure myself. That is the clear cut of it. I don't measure myself, so I don't really have the idea of that. In regards to moving on to a job, now listen, I have moved on from a few jobs, and I think moving on is all personal reasons, and sometimes the business makes you move on. But I think it depends on all your different workplaces. And for me, most of the reasons why I've left other workplaces is because I felt as if I had done all that I wanted to do there, or all that I could do there. So now it was time for me to do something new. So even when it's been in the midst of me like really enjoying my job, like amazing things are happening, and like, oh yeah, it's great, because I know I've been there for 2 years already. It's like, you know what, I'm really enjoying this, but I've done all that I could do here, and maybe let me do something new. And so when anybody looks at my CV, you'll see I've jumped from industry to industry to industry because I want to just try something new all the time. So for me, my career, when it's time to move on, is when you just feel like you've done all that you could do, or done all that you could do, and you should just move on.
I kind of think that Teyana had the right idea of when you should be moving on, because she was basing it off of her feelings. And I think we should maybe pay attention to, like, is it like, I just go for the like negative positive balance. You know what I mean? Like, is it doing more harm than good? If yes, au revoir. And I feel like that was happening with her with music. Although the thing with Teyana is that she basically, I think she just wants to leave the label, because she said something along the lines of, maybe if I retire, then they'll finally let me go, because she said if I can have my full freedom like she wants, then she'll do music in a heartbeat, because obviously it's one of her passions amongst many other things. But for us in general, I think that sometimes we go for things that look good to the outside world. Like sometimes we make choices through the lens of how we think other people will view it, instead of what's actually going to make us happy. I think I read an article, and I can't remember, this was maybe a couple of weeks ago. I think we maybe talked about this on the show, but my brain is frying right now. But there was a woman who she took like a 40 grand paycheck. I can't remember where she was working, but she was earning like 60 grand a year. And then she decided to go and be a teacher. This was all during lockdown, because so many people have had so much time for self-reflection. So if you're a person who's used to living a certain type of lifestyle, and you have friends from a certain class, and then you, for your happiness, you're going to take that much of a pay cut because it's going to make you happy, there's going to be a lot of people that have something to say about it. People will call you an idiot for, not having more money. But if you're choosing your happiness, then you're always doing the right thing. And that's the way that I measure it.
I think for me, like, it's various things. And I think that what has defined success for me continues to evolve the older I get and the more I work. So I'd say currently it's probably enjoyment, fulfillment, support, teamwork, money that allows me to have a certain amount of freedom. And I'd probably say appreciation as well. Like, That's a long list, but it's all of those things, and it's not going to be like that all the time in your workplace. But if I don't feel like I'm getting up in the morning and I feel like this is really fulfilling, I feel like I'm doing something that is making a difference, that I'm achieving something, like I'm helping people, or it's making an impact, then I probably find it quite lacking. And I think I've learned very much over the past few years that I want to work in a place like success for me is somewhere where you can be part of a team. Like, I really like to be part of a team that can rely on each other and support each other to do the best. And I really feel what Teyana Taylor was saying in terms of underappreciation. As much as you can work on a project and you know that, yeah, I killed it, I slayed it, I did great, it's always nice to work amongst people who appreciate what it is that you're putting out into the world. Like, appreciate what you're contributing to this workplace, to this team, like whatever it is. So I think for me, those would be how I currently define success. And I guess I'm just trying to find the balance now, as somebody who has also taken COVID as a chance to kind of think about what is it now is going to be the next step in my life? Like, what is going to be the next career step? About how do all of those things really mesh together, which are going to be like the top of the pile. Because I think for Teyana Taylor, this is someone who's been doing music for a long time. And it also really reminded me, if I'm being honest, of Rihanna, someone who got into the music industry when she was 15 and now is focusing more on beauty and her clothing line. And she says, I got in when I was really young. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I think Teyana Taylor is showing that thing that started off with millennials, bloop, bloop, going down to Generation Z as well. But this idea of like, actually what I'm doing doesn't have to be the thing that I'm doing for the rest of my life. Like, I can, as Anissa said, I can jump from career to career to career and kind of see what's out there. So I think for me, it's an exciting time because of COVID. But also it can be a bit of a scary time when you have to move on and take that next step.
I think also that Teyana is so young as well. Like, she only just turned 30, which was mind-blowing to me because she's achieved so much. And that's why I think that, it's subjective. And I really think at the end of the day, the only person that can make you feel successful is yourself. Because I know so many musicians that would give an arm and a leg to have an eighth of the talent that Teyana has, because she is just incredibly talented across the board of performance. So, and creation, because now she's going to be the creative director of Pretty Little Thing. So she's just not lacking on any level. But again, like Sophie said, it goes back to how much you're recognized, because I think sometimes when you're doing something incredible or what you believe is good, and especially with something as personal as art, and people are disregarding it, and you put in more work and then you just get more dismissiveness, and that happens for quite a few years, it's going to take a mental toll on anybody. And I like the fact that she said, I need to be here for my children, so I'm going to just make sure that like I'm happy, and that's the most important thing, because I'm raising a family. And even if she wasn't, she has herself to live for.
And I think what you said, like, she actually said, I want to be alive for my children. Because when she said she was going to retire, all these fans came in and people saying, stay for your fans, stay in the music industry for your fans. And she was just like, stay for the fans. Like, I appreciate that, but I need to be alive for my children. Like, if this is not serving me and it's like affecting my mental health, I'm not going to put the fans first. I'm going to be like, my children will need me to be alive. So I think definitely thinking about how work is going to impact you. But I think this idea of what success is also changes with generations as well. Like, I think definitely for our parents' generation, it wasn't always about whether you're enjoying your job. It's whether you had a stable job that can provide for you. And that was a measure of success. But now, as those things are happening successively in our generations, I would say, in people being able to provide for themselves, like a home or food, now it's coming to, actually, that's not enough. Like, it's not enough for me to just pay for the electricity. I want more.
Yeah, I just enjoyed listening to Teyana speak out about it. She's always very like a raw and very honest, straight to the point person. But I just enjoyed it because, like, for years I've heard her complain about this label, just like for years. And now to see her finally make a decision and say, listen, I'm going to retire since you guys don't want to do that for me. And I think it was important, even for like when I'm thinking about my younger brothers and things like that, and just like younger generation in general, that sometimes you can be doing things that you love, and maybe you're doing it for a company that doesn't serve you. And it's this whole idea, like sometimes, especially I feel like in the minority communities, it's this whole idea of being grateful, like grateful that you have a job, like grateful that these people gave this to you or whatever, and you're not allowed to have your own terms. And so that's why I liked that Teyana was doing it, because instead of her being like, yeah, you picked me up when I was 15 in Harlem, and so now I have to be grateful, forever indebted to you that you gave me this opportunity. She's like, no, it doesn't cut it for me anymore. And that's what I took from that message. And it just makes me, it is definitely a generational thing, just circling back to Sophie's thing, because when I've worked in companies, I've worked in like a lot of companies that's have like legacy and heritage, have been around for 250 years. And a lot of the people, they started in maybe in reception, and now they're director or whatever, and they've been there for like 40 years. And I remember just sitting there being like, what have you been doing for 40 years? Like, you pick their brain. Why have you stayed this long? Is it that you love this company this much? And it's usually because it's like, oh, you're comfortable, and they're kind of going with the flow, but they'll be the first to complain about how crap everything is and how everything's changed and it's not the same anymore. Boo, boo, boo. And my question is like, then why don't you leave? Like, it's just like, why don't you leave? And it's this idea of, but why should I leave? Like, I'm just staying here. And I find that reasoning just bizarre. Like, not to spill any tea, but my manager said to me the other day, oh, Anissa, don't ever leave. And I said, no, well, I got to die someday, so I will be leaving. Like, I don't intend to be here for that long. And even if I'm enjoying the job, but even if I wasn't enjoying the job, it's that kind of like, a lot of older companies have that culture where even if you're not enjoying it, you just stay, and you just keep going. And I am not of that belief, honey. When you are ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a job in a restaurant, and I met this woman, instantly didn't like her, like instantly. Like I'm really good at like, when someone just says like one thing and you kind of get like an idea of their personality, and I'm not usually wrong. Okay. Also wasn't in that scenario. Doesn't mean that I treat them badly. It doesn't mean that I treat them badly. It just, I see in my mind like, yeah, you're not for me. But anyway, I got there, and she was kind of like, I guess a job's worth, when she was kind of like by the book, and I was like training. So the people said to me, oh, what do you want from the menu? And then I picked something vegan, and the woman was like, oh, she can't have that, because even though the manager was approving this, by the way, about to give me this salad, I was ready to eat that. And she was like, oh no, because the staff meals are only from this part of the menu, and the salads come on this side of the menu, so she can't, and that's the rules. And I was like, yeah, I don't like you.
But my God, the manager has said it's okay.
The manager said it's okay, but she thought that she ran the restaurant, Anissa, because she had been there, I think, and I'm not exaggerating, either 20 or 25 years in that same job, in that same restaurant. And like you said, it was because she was very comfortable. She didn't want to leave. People are just, they get so stuck in their routines and they don't want really anything else. For me, like, because obviously she's middle-aged now, I just don't feel like I could be a middle-aged person and have a 21-year-old manager and have like 18-year-old colleagues or like 16-year-old colleagues.
Don't be ageist, Luanda. Do not be ageist.
I think we're being a little tough, because I think part of it is like, that it's just a completely, I think for some people, it's just a completely different mindset that we're not going to get, because we're just not of that generation. Like for them, yes. I think some of it is comfortability. I definitely think that. But I think also it was a mindset of, once you got a job for life. So people did that. They just got a job and they're like, this is the job I'm going to work at, and it allows me to provide to a certain extent, and therefore I'm just going to, stay and see it out. And to be fair, companies used to look after those long-term people. They would have great pensions, great benefits, great this, that, and you cannot now get great retirement packages or pension, but like those things don't even exist. So I think there's definitely pros and cons, but yeah,
I see what you're saying, but I don't think it's I understand that it's like what the generalization for the generation above us, but actually I think it's more of a personality trait, because I know people of that generation who are like, I've been in this job long enough now, I need to move on, I need something fresh. Like they have that same mindset as Anissa. And then I also know people my age who have the same mindset as that middle-aged woman that I met in the restaurant, who just get one thing and they're good. So I think it's more of like who you are as a person and what feels right to you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
I think
true.
I think it might change, because I would probably say I was a person who might have thought like, actually, I'm happy in the job that I'm in and I'm happy to stay here for a very, very, very long time. But as time has gone on and my desires have changed and I've changed, it's made me want to change as well. So I don't know if it's definitely down to mindset, because I wouldn't want to say it's something that can never change. Like, because I think your mindset... Well, yeah, that's the point. That's why I'm saying I don't think it's a set mindset. I don't think it's something like that's that person's mindset, so that's how they think. I think that there's always a freedom to be able, like you said, some people during lockdown who have been one way, thought they were going to do one career, something massive happens, and they're like, actually, what are the other things that I've been interested in that I've always wanted to do and I never had a chance? And I think I'm really grateful for COVID giving people this shift of what is actually important in life and what do I want to do with my career.
For sure.
Yeah, sorry, just to bounce off what Luanda was saying, yes, I've been pondering. Yeah, I don't think it's mindset, but I think it could be personality type. That's what I'm just thinking, because some people are just habitual in nature. Do you know what I mean? They like the same cycle. So maybe it's more people that are a bit like that who don't want to. Sorry, I've just been pondering it in my mind.